Okay.
Check. I know, I feel like I'm nasally.
My throat.
Okay, we will start in 3, 2, 1. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the second ever episode of WhatsBaySay. I am so excited that you guys took the chance to tune in or to watch on YouTube, whatever it is, and just want to let you know that you're valued, you're loved, and I appreciate you so much. Today, I have an awesome guest with me. I have Miss Morganne Harper. Woo woo!
What's up?
She is in the building, and we are going to have so much fun today. So y'all are going to get to know her, get to know me a little bit more, and we're just going to chat. So we'll go ahead and just start off. Morganne, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your upbringing? I know I mentioned last podcast that I grew up in a Christian family, and it's played a lot of into now who I am. And so what was growing up for you like? You know, was it similar, very different? What was it like?
Yeah, so I would say it's a good mix. I grew up, my parents were, their lifestyle choice was one that wasn't necessarily one that you would think you would go to church and really talk about and see. And so we did not go to church in the very beginning of my life, but my grandparents were always in church. My mom's parents, my dad's parents. And so I knew who Jesus was at an early age, but I was really in and out. I felt like I never really had anything super steady until we moved to South Carolina.
Okay.
So I grew up in the Assemblies of God, which is just a denomination that is very similar to Pentecostal. So, you know, just like free-spirited and flags and dancing and talking and, you know, speaking in tongues, which was just really like scary to me as a little one. And so, but I grew up in that, and then my parents actually got divorced, and it wrecked my entire world. And so again, we were in and out of the church, and the church kind of was like, I'm not really sure that we want you guys serving right now. So it really hurt my parents, and my mom pulled away from the church. And I know that's scary for people that are hearing this. They're like, yeah, like I can resonate with that. Like that's kind of my story.
Yeah.
But I didn't let it faze me. And so as we grew up, I decided to continue to go to church. I went with my grandparents. And I grew up, and I always knew who Jesus was, but I knew who he was from, like, the platform. I didn't necessarily know who Jesus was for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know when you grow up in church, it's so much like who your parents know, who your grandparents know, and then, like, who your preacher says he is. I got to high school and finally got involved in a youth group, and my youth group literally saved my life. And because of that, I went to college, and then it was in college, my sophomore year, changed my life forever. I found who Jesus was for myself. I began reading scripture for myself, really digging in and figuring out who he was for me. So
yeah, that's awesome. There's like that switch that a lot of people have where you go from like hearing about who God is to actually knowing him for yourself, and, you know, actually starting that relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was about your sophomore year of college?
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And so also in the midst of all this, you met your now husband.
Yes.
Who you speak nothing but highly about. I work with him. He's awesome. So how did that, we all love a good love story.
Girl.
How did that come about? How did you guys, because I know, but it's a cool story. Just explain to everybody how that happened and kind of what it looks like now. What does y'all's life look like now?
Yeah.
So.
It's a long story, so I'll try and keep it short.
No, you're good. We love a love story.
Yeah, I'll try to do my best to keep it short. So freshman year, I see this guy literally like chilling on the steps on his phone. He's got like cut off shirt, and he's got on blue jeans. And I saw him, and I was like, man, it was different. It was different than anything I had experienced because I was like, he's hot, but like, it was different. I don't know how to necessarily explain it, except I knew in that moment that he was different. And I'll never forget, there were a couple of times where I saw him, and literally he would like come up to me, and I don't have a problem speaking. You know that. Yeah. I just love to talk. And there were just moments that I like found myself freezing and not being able to say anything. So I kind of like stalked him once I figured out who he was.
The great start to a love story.
Not kidding. Like, I knew who his mama was, who his daddy was. I knew he had a brother and a sister. I knew that his mom liked to cook, what they drove. I mean, it was, you know, I was just like so FBI, like did all the background research. And so I was like, okay, I gotta like figure out like how to have a conversation with this dude. So one thing led to another. I told my best friend that I thought he was cute. So she told her guy friend that she was hanging out. Hamilton played baseball in college. Mm-hmm. And so
that's like middle school. Like, can you tell that guy that I think he's cute?
That's exactly how this went. So he ended up finding out that I thought he was cute, and he got my number. I remember I was sitting in like my freshman orientation class. He texted me and was like, hey, what's up? This is Ham. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is happening. So texted him back. He was like, so you want to go to dinner this week? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So it gets to Friday, and he says, hey, I just want to let you know, like, my friends are coming. It'd be cool if you bring all your friends, too. So I was like, okay, not what I thought that this was, but cool. So Hamilton always traveled in, like, a posse. Mm-hmm. So, like, his posse of, like, 12 came with him. So there were, like, 20 of us at dinner that night, and I remember sitting next to him. And anyways, from there, my best friend and me and his best friend and him kind of formed this alliance our freshman year, and the four of us did everything together. I found out that he was talking to someone freshman year.
Oh, no.
It broke my heart. I went home, and the cool thing is I went home, I had a broken heart, literally, like, bought ice cream, sitting in bed, crying, like, silly, like, freshman girl stuff.
The broken heart starter pack.
Yeah,
there you go.
Brokenhearted. But I told my mom, I said, Mom, I don't know that he knows it yet, but I believe that I found the man that I'm going to marry one day.
Wow.
And it was such a like bold statement. Like, it kind of surprised me when I said it. And so I'll save all the details. I would love to just be able to like lay out my whole story one day. But we dated people on and off from freshman year to the end of our sophomore year. And we were totally, I told you, the Lord changed my life my sophomore year. Hamilton also had a very similar experience with a mentor of his, somebody that just kind of came alongside him, loved on him, and showed him who Jesus was. Wow. And so in that time, we were growing separately in the Lord and really learning who we were as individuals. And through that season, I learned how to pray for the man that Hamilton is and who he was becoming. Wow. Long story short, we end up going to the beach at the same time, right before our junior year. So we'd already planned to live in the same apartment complex. That was like, again, the FBI brain in me, like scoping out all these things. Like, I knew that if we got in the same apartment complex, he'd have to spend a lot of time with me.
And you're like, he'll walk by, he'll see me.
Exactly, whatever. So anyways, our families went to the beach at the same time together, and I told my mom, I was like, I'm over this guy. Like, I'm not, whatever. Like, all my emotions are just going to fade. I'm good. I just want to, hang out with him. Mm-hmm. So he gets out of the car at the beach, and literally every emotion that I had felt for, that long had just poured out, like, all over the place. And I was like, okay, I'm right back to the same place I was my freshman year. So anyways, we saw each other, and Hamilton said in that moment he knew that day that I was it. And he said the one thing that changed for me was that I saw your heart, and you didn't need me anymore.
Wow.
You needed Jesus. And that is what was so attractive about you.
Aww.
So anyways, the rest is history. We got married and we got engaged 2014. New Year's Eve. We got married November 21st, 2015. And now we have a beautiful baby girl.
She's so cute.
And we've got one on the way.
Yes, congrats. Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I love a love story. Yeah. So that, there's a lot to dissect in there. I mean, you recognize and he recognized that you guys both had some growing to do in aspects of emotional maturity, and if you're saved, spiritual maturity, and that there's a reason sometimes that God withholds something good from you. And it doesn't mean he's punishing you or he's mad at you. He actually could be saving both of you. I mean, who would have known what would have happened if y'all would have sparked that up before it was time,
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a really cool point. And then also noticing that you said that he saw that you didn't need him. And I think that's something that's so important that I want to kind of touch on right now is that a lot of young people, I mean, I'm young, I'm in this category, but I've kind of learned in this area that we put so much of everything, which we talked about this the other night on the couch, we put everything into someone, hoping that it works out the way we want it to. And then when it doesn't, we are like, why do I feel so lost and depressed and insecure and I don't even know who I am anymore? And it's like, well, you put your whole essence of who you were into something that is conditional. And the only thing that's unconditional and permanent is God. So if you put yourself into all these other things and it's not working out, why don't we try to put it in the person of Jesus who doesn't change? And I think that that's so, so, so good. It's a great reminder for me that I want people to see that in me, that I'm content in who Jesus is. And people can add good to your life, and it's okay to love hard and to trust you want something to work out, but don't lose yourself to anything. You know, stay very firm in who you are, because seasons come and go, people come and go sometimes, and you have to be able to stand firm in who Jesus called you to be. But one thing I was going to ask you, I wrote down, is what is your advice? Because I feel this is for the Christian people in the room. So whoever's a Christian, if you're listening to this, other people don't make dating so weird, but Christians
make it weird.
We make it weird. So weird. Like, I don't know for some reason who put this stigma or whatever that's called, that you have to like know someone's your husband. That's weird. Like, I mean, there is moments, but don't put that pressure on yourself, because if God wants to do it, I mean, you weren't expecting it and he did it. Right. And that happened for my dad, and it happens for some people, but it doesn't happen for everybody. I mean, some people are like, I thought they were so annoying. And so what is
Hamilton did think I was annoying.
There's both aspects.
There were definitely points, and I was so ugly to him. Again, our story's super crazy long, but bless him.
You're not ugly. Bless him, for real. No, but so like, really though, what is your... Because I have advice. I'll hear yours, and I'll kind of share what I've learned. But what would you say to a Christian who is maybe 18 to 30 and they're dating, or they're single, but maybe they want to get in the dating world, they don't know how, they feel awkward, they don't just, what's your advice in that to have fun, but also,
Yeah, so I remember when I went to college. I was, my aunt had come over, and my mom was standing there, and she was like, yeah, Morgan, like, go to college and kiss them all. And my mom's eyes got, like, the size of her head. And she's like, no, that is not my advice. Like, don't go kiss them all. But what I would say is, men, women, young women, like, the most important thing you can do is, one, make a list of, like, every quality that you want in that person. And not like a specific person in your life right now, like that person that you want to marry one day. Yeah. And if I had made that list sooner, I think I would have dated a lot less because there were so many fish that I dated that were just not good for me. Yeah. They didn't meet any qualities that fell on that list. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is figure out what you want, and then you don't have to go dating with the intention that everybody that you go to dinner with, you're going to marry, right?
Amen.
Okay?
Literally, so like, yes.
It is okay to go have dinner with someone and ask questions and figure out, but don't put that pressure on you or that person to think, we're going to dinner, we're going to get married one day.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've learned. So I'm obviously single right now. I'm 22 and single, and it's a weird time in your life because half your friends are, like, you guys are married and you have a kid and one on the way, and then half my friends are still in college trying to graduate, and then I went kind of the career route, so I'm working at my dream job right now, and it's just a weird time, but I've noticed that a lot of people put so much pressure on themselves, and they're like, I don't want to date someone unless I know they're the one. And I said, how are you going to know somebody's the one if you don't hang out with them?
Yeah, you've got to get to know them.
And so my biggest piece of advice for my small group girls that I'm over is just, have things that are non-negotiables.
Yes.
That are just, he has to be a Christian if that's important to you. He has to be motivated if that's important to you. Whatever that looks like, it's going to be different for everyone.
It is.
But figure out those non-negotiables, and then you can put your bonuses of tan or whatever.
Hey, oh girl, you list them out. Blonde hair, blue eyes, you just go down that list. Physique, like whatever you want.
So I always tell them, put your non-negotiables, and to me, someone who is spontaneous is really important to me because that's how my brain works, and I want to be with someone who values. If I say, hey, let's go drive to Atlanta right now and go get cookies, they said, you can go get cookies from Kroger. I'm like, I don't want cookies from Kroger. I want to go to Atlanta and get some cookies. So that's important to me, and it might not be that important to someone else, but that's what Bailey values in a person. So I think it's important to list those things out, and then to just know your limits physically, and obviously value purity. We're not saying to be a crazy hoochie mama or a little player, but just have fun and get to know people. And if you go into something with an open mind and you say, Lord, confirm or deny this, again, for Christian couples, everyone else, y'all don't make dating as serious, but for Christian people, if you just go into it with an open mind and you say, if this is what you want from me, great. If it's not, great. If you go into that with that mindset and you just have fun, I think he'll speak. I mean, in my regards, I've gone on a lot of first dates and haven't gone on a second date because I didn't feel that kind of peace from the Lord. Sometimes I wanted to feel the peace. I'm like, this one's real cute. Can we make this happen?
And let me speak to that. I remember I went on a date. It's so funny because I'm like, who's this podcast going to reach one day? But I went on a date with a guy who literally met several things on that list. But I personally there was something there that it was like almost forced. Mm-hmm. And one thing I will say is when they are the one, when they are absolutely the one, there is nothing forced or has to be forced about that relationship. Yeah. One thing, when we were talking, together on the couch the other day, I was like, the Lord knows your heart. And like, I also listened to a woman yesterday. She was like, being a Christian, I just thought that they had to meet all these standards, but a lot of the guys I dated just weren't attractive. And like, I want to be attracted to my husband. And so
that's true.
God can honor that. God can make a way. So, but to put emphasis on the right one, it won't be forced. And there won't be questions. I'm not saying you won't ever doubt it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you won't ever have questions, but the I don't know. Have you ever felt in a relationship where you're like, okay, he does this, XYZ is great, but you have questions and doubts in your mind that you're like,
I know that there's something about you that maybe you can't even put your finger on it, but you're saying I should be all in with this, but I don't feel as if I should be, and that's just something to pay attention to and to take caution in. And I think that I haven't experienced that just yet, but I think that is true because that's what most people say, is that they knew without a shadow of doubt. They were like, this is my person. This is who I want to grow old with. And if you haven't felt that yet, it's not mean you're behind. It just means it's not your time yet.
And for the guys listening, Hamilton didn't have just that confirmation that I had from the Lord. And so he went to his dad and he was like, Dad, how do I know she's it? And his dad said, she'll be worth fighting for. She'll be the one that's worth fighting for. And that's Hamilton said, and that's the moment that I recognized, like, you were worth fighting for. You were worth, that was who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, because I'd go to war for you.
That's awesome. I think so many people, sorry, we're staying a little bit longer on this topic, but it's really relevant to young people. I think so many people, too, are just so eager to date that they will kind of drop their standards because they're just ready to, get out there and feel in love and be in love. And it's not wrong to want to feel. I mean, there's sometimes, obviously, when I watch Outer Banks season 2 by myself. Oh, girl. Like, for real by myself. And I was like, oh, shoot. It'd be nice to have someone to watch Outer Banks season 2 with. And
You're on John B?
Yeah, literally. Yes. It would be nice to have somebody to watch that with. But I realized that, those moments where you for a second can feel lonely or whatever, that's just an emotion and it goes away. And I just remind myself that I would rather be watching Outer Banks Season 2 by myself than with the wrong person who's pushing me in the wrong direction. That's so I'm going to wait on someone who adds good to my life, and I'm also going to pray I add good to their life. And that it just flows and makes sense. And
I'm gonna wait on you.
Exactly. I don't know. I was gonna say. There you go. The Christian. I'm gonna wait on you. Literally, that is the theme. And love is so important. It's a huge decision. So it's okay to have fun and be single. I am having so much fun, just doing what I want to do, hanging out. I have this thought that I could meet someone, and that's exciting. And I'm gonna stay in that mindset until God brings someone into my life that makes sense, and then we'll see what happens. But
never settle. If there's one thing my mama ever taught me, don't ever settle.
Ever.
Don't
never,
ever.
Never, ever.
Don't ever settle.
Yes, that's so good. Sorry, we went a little bit longer on that. But it's important. There's so many people have questions in there. Yeah. So we'll talk. We're not scared.
We ain't scared.
We'll talk about it. So you talked about, we went all over the place, but y'all got married. You have Charlie, she's awesome, and then y'all are expecting, and so now what does your life look like / your family? Yeah. What are y'all up to now?
Yeah, so I'm really glad you asked that, because I think something else that people need to hear is your faith, and like building your faith, and like building your trust in just who the Lord is. And so I was a teacher for 6 years. And Hamilton and I were at a church in Athens literally just a few months ago. And I walked to my box and I pulled out this letter. It's basically our letter of intent saying, hey, we're going to come back next year, or we're not coming back next year. Usually I fill it out, stick it in the box, because I'm too lazy to walk my butt up to the office to like put it back in there.
That's true though.
And so something in me was like, don't sign that letter. And I was like, okay. So took that home, told Hamilton, I was like, so got my letter of intent today. Don't think I'm going to sign it. And he said, okay, so what are you going to do?
As men do. They're always thinking ahead. We're emotional in the moment.
Yes.
And we're like, it was this great moment. And then what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I said, but what I do know is I have all these dreams and these passions inside of me. And I feel like the Lord is telling me like to go for them. And he said, okay, but we still have bills to pay, So a couple weeks later, we ended up getting a phone call from Free Chapel that offered Hamilton one of the youth pastor positions at the Gainesville campus. And it was absolute confirmation that I was not supposed to sign that letter of intent. So we ended up moving our lives back home to Claremont, which has been absolutely amazing. We moved into the basement of his parents' house for the third time. Which I'm so thankful for my in-laws and just the blessing of that.
They're awesome.
So we're living in their basement, but a couple weeks into being there, the college, Free Chapel College, reached out to me. And they said, hey, we've got a position we really think that you'd be great at. And so I went, and it fit lots of dreams and just aspirations that I have to just pour into young people. Yeah. And my university experience, my college experience changed my life.
Yeah.
So I took a job with Free Chapel College as a student life director, and a lot of my job is hanging out with young people, planning events, which is like something else I'm really big on, and then just diving into that. So that has been, the Lord was totally faithful, totally saw my gifts, my passions, my heart, and was like, you know what? All these things that you've been daydreaming about at work, like I'm going to give them to you. And so to be able to take that step of faith was huge for me. So I would encourage any of you that are kind of on the fence about where you want to be in life, trust that intuition that you've been given.
Yes.
That's such a gift. And so Hamilton's currently one of the youth pastors at the Gainesville campus. And then we are in the process of trying to build a home. So we're just waiting on all these crazy prices to go down. It's
literally,
wow. But until then, we're just, your family's moving. So crazy. We're just yeah, we're just praying that these prices come down, and then as soon as that happens, we'll build. And awesome. So that's where life is right now.
That is so cool. And that's a great reminder, too. I know a lot of the people that are on here are saved, but for the people that aren't religious, just not settling with your anything, your job, your relationships, whatever. There's going to be times in your life where you're going to do things that maybe you're not absolutely in love with, but don't ever give up on the dreams that you have, because this podcast has been something I have legitimately had dreams about recording and what it would look like and what it would feel like for years. Since I was 16 and I'm 22. And I didn't know if I would ever touch the surface of this dream, but I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind, and then it started coming up again, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't want this, and then ended up, pursuing it, and it's been awesome. So don't give up on your dreams,
No, never. And Bailey, I just want to champion you. Like, it's been really cool to see, and I will never stop honoring young people and just people in general, but women that just step out and they do what they know that they're just freaking called to do. So, like, I'm so proud of you, and I know that God's going to use this and reach people that you never even thought that you'd reach. So I wanted to start the podcast that way, but I really am just so proud of you. And just sitting here is just, I remember getting a DM from you about relationship advice that you were going to like talk about for your podcast like a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. And like here we are. So don't ever give up. So that's so cool.
Won't he do it? Won't he?
He'll do it.
That was so good. The Lord's awesome, and he does things like that only he can do. So that's great.
Yeah. So Bailey, tell me, I want to know, like, what are you learning right now? Are you reading? What are you reading? What's the Lord teaching you? Where are you at just with your personal walk?
Okay, so great question. No, that is really good. So I've been going through the Bible, and I tried to start in Genesis, but I realized that it was very wordy and crazy, and so I started in Revelation, which was kind of scary.
Okay.
But I went back to front, which was, people think that is so weird, but I've just been doing an in-depth study just on my own, and so I just finished Nehemiah.
Okay.
So I'm wrapping up Nehemiah, or I'm on literally the last chapter, and I read either during my lunch break or at night. I don't read in the mornings because I don't comprehend well. So I worship and pray in the mornings and do my devotional, but I actually read the word later on in the day when I'm more at a place where I can understand it. But I'm really big on, when you're reading the Bible or a Christian book, to have highlighters, pens, write down your questions, write down what sticks out, write down things you like, and to actually dissect it, so you're not just reading it and forgetting it, or even saying it out loud, whatever works for you, but actually study it and try to figure out what the takeaway is from it. And so that's kind of, personally, that's what I'm doing. But what I'm learning right now is that, one thing is I am really competitive.
Who would have ever thought?
And everybody kind of knows that. And this is like so weird, but I realized that I kind of have ruined a couple things for people by being so competitive.
Like what? What have you ruined?
Uno. People won't play Uno with me at all because
like regular games.
Yes, they're card games. If I suggest Uno, it's a hard pass to everyone around me. And so I kind of have been working on, still competitive, I want to win, but having a good attitude. In things, which sounds so insignificant, but to me, when I'm trying to be a good person, I can't get ticked off over Uno.
You should have seen this girl at our young adults volleyball event. She was going ham.
Literally.
Ham. You're so good. I had no clue.
Well, thank you. We challenge us in beach volleyball. Our team's pretty legit. But no, so I've been working on not being as competitive, which seems so insignificant to everyone else, but just having a good attitude. Yeah. And then also, I was talking to my friend Mackie, shout out Mackie, today about how I am just learning about taking each day a little bit slower and really focusing on the day, because I've been catching myself just waking up, eating, going to work, coming home from work, doing whatever I have to do.
Going through the motions.
And I don't want to be someone who does that. I don't want to wait on Friday always. I want to be someone who lives each day, with purpose, and I make everything exciting and fun, and I have a good attitude, and I just want to be somebody who really lives life in everything that I do. So that's why I've been learning to just kind of slow down and really smell the roses and wave to people and interact with people even if I'm tired. And it's been really, really beneficial for me to just slow down. So that's what I'm learning. What about you?
Well, I wanted to touch really quick. One thing that we're wanting to really put in the culture of our school this year and our young adults and is just to every moment matters. Yeah. Every single moment of your day matters. So I'm so glad that you said that. And I think it's so easy. It is so easy to get so
routine.
Just in the routine of the day to day and, waking up, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, and so I think it's really cool that you recognize that. So
thank you. Yeah, it's good to switch things up sometimes.
Yeah.
Just, be a wild card sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the Lord's teaching me a lot right now. The biggest thing, and I don't want this to sound arrogant or selfish, but one thing the Lord is teaching me is how important it is to know my gifts and then use my gifts. And so I've loved to write my entire life. I've loved to write. I've always said I wanted to publish a book. And a couple of months ago, the Lord just kind of dropped it into my spirit that during my quiet time, I need to start writing a devotional.
Wow.
So that's one of my dreams that's just kind of been in my heart. And so I'm kind of taking my day and dissecting my day and then just kind of putting scripture with it. So I'm hoping that eventually, once this is written, I can publish it and people can kind of just learn from my mistakes, the experiences of my day. So I feel like right now God's developing me as a writer. I feel like he's developing me as a speaker. This is a really, really cool opportunity to be here, to be able to do this because speaking has always been something that I've been very passionate about, something that I've always wanted to do. And so really it's just kind of allowing the Lord to kind of take me into places where I can use those gifts and it's so scary.
He's stretching you.
That's good though. It's so scary to me. But I, as a little bit older than you, again, encouraging you with this podcast thing, he's stretching you and he's giving you those gifts. He's giving you those talents and those abilities. And what's cool is that we as Christian women have the opportunity to use them for his glory.
Yep.
And so whether you're writing, whether you sing, whether you dance, podcast, graphic design, whatever that is, it's so cool to be able to live in where we're at and the people doing life with the people that we are.
Yeah. And
allowing the Lord to just use our gifts. And then he's also just teaching me how to prioritize.
Amen. Amen. I'm not the best at that.
We all just have such busy lives, and I myself am a wife and a mama, and I work almost a full-time job, and so it's difficult to kind of navigate all those things, and especially being a mom. I'm so aware of the things that I do, the things that I say.
Yeah.
And he's just, again, stretching me, molding me into teaching my little girl, what, your day-to-day life should really look like. And so it's stopping and praying with Charlie Jane at night, when she's got her head on my shoulder and I'm praying over her and speaking life over her, or when she wakes up and I hold her hands and she squeezes those little eyes and she, she prays with me. And so just learning how to prioritize those things, stopping in the moment, and just embracing the moment. And then also making time for my husband and everything else, ministry that comes with our life. So that's awesome. That's what the Lord's teaching me right now.
That is really awesome. And then kind of the last question that I want to ask you, and then I'll wrap up with a little thought, is what would you tell 16-year-old Morganne?
Gosh.
What would you, if you could somehow go back and just, tell her something, what it's a sentence or a couple sentences, what would you tell her?
So this was the only question that you told me that you were going to ask me. And I really prayed about what I needed to say, because I was such a broken 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And, like, the raw emotion of being 16 again, like, just totally almost took me out, because I remember how lost I was. I had dealt with identity issues the majority of my life, all of those things stemming from broken family and not knowing my biological father. And so it caused me to look for love in all of the wrong places. And at 16, I was in a very toxic relationship, and I allowed myself to fall into peer pressure, and lost my virginity at 16 years old, and I just spiraled out of control, and I was ugly to my family. And what I would say to 16-year-old Morgan is, like, you were made differently. The Lord has called you to be different.
Yeah.
And you need to be a light for who I am. Stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. Stop worrying so much about fitting in.
Yeah.
Stop worrying so much about whether, what you're doing is right or wrong. Like, trust me, and all of the rest, like, everything else will disappear. So
That's awesome.
Don't give in to that peer pressure, because it's real.
Yeah.
It's real at 16.
That's so good. I love that. Well, that was awesome. You're awesome. I just want to say thank you so much for coming. I know we talked about a lot of different things. And real quickly, I just want to say, for anyone who is not saved, who listened to this podcast and you were either confused or maybe you're wondering about Christianity, but you don't know about it, all these things obviously come from God in our lives. But in your own lives, you can still apply them. Right. Not giving up on your dreams doesn't have to be just a Christian thing. Right. Investing into who you are and taking each day by day does not have to be a Christian thing. We pray that it becomes a Christian thing, but there's no pressure, and, you can still grow as a person and invest into who you are. You don't have to be religious to do that. And so I just want to encourage anyone who's not saved that you can do all these things. You can apply these things to your life in your own way, and you can figure it out. And we are rooting for you, no matter what religion you are, no matter what you're going through in life. And just want to encourage some people, for real. The whole time we were talking, I've just been thinking about how thankful I am that I have good people around me who, Haley last week and you this week, just who share similar passions as me and who want to be better and don't want to get complacent in their life. And so just a little bonus, if you're a guy, get some good guys around you who really value you and want to see you do your best. And if you're a girl, get some good girls around you who value you and want to see you do your best, because it is so important. And it is a very, very good feeling to know that you have a genuine friendship with somebody. So if you don't have that right now, I would say to get out a little bit and try to find that. And if you have that, really invest into that person and tell them you're thankful for them and check on them. Don't always be the one talking, and go to them when you need help. And you just made me think about the importance of friendship. So that's the last thing I want to end with is I'm thankful for all the people in my life. So find those people. But thank you so much, Miss Morgan.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We love and appreciate you, my second ever guest. But I'm just going to wrap this thing up. So real quickly, if you don't follow me on Instagram, it's WhatsBaySay Instagram, and you can DM me with prayer requests, questions. If you want to be on the podcast, heck, DM me. I don't know. And my email is WhatsBaySay@gmail.com. Everything's super easy. Again, DM me with any questions, comments, concerns, things you like, didn't like, feedback, etc. But besides that, I hope that you guys enjoyed today as much as we did. I hope that you felt like you were at this table just hanging out with us and we were talking. And take what you want, leave what you want. Won't offend us. We just want to see everyone reach their potential. So you are loved, whoever's listening to this, and you are awesome. I hope that everyone has a fabulous week. And that's pretty much it. Just remember to find the good in things, and if there is none, to become it. Peace.